Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. I'm wishing you all a happy Monday, and as always, if you are new to this channel and finding yourself on my videos for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button, because we drop an update just like this one around 1 p.m. UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest happening in the crypto space, but also the broader markets. That's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. Bitcoin right now is around about 64,000, just below 65,000. And new all-time highs for Bitcoin may be on the cards this week alone. Bitcoin really is the star of the show, and we have seen BlackRock's IBIT, which is a Bitcoin spot ETF, be the fastest ETF ever to reach $10 billion in market cap. Bitcoin, by all accounts, is a huge success. Kind of too much of a success to kind of raise a load of questions in regards to Bitcoin's origins, but I don't want to keep going on about that. Guys, we are going to be looking at the Bitcoin chart, of course. We're going to be showing you guys, and we did show Amazon as a kind of schematic for what was going to happen with Bitcoin. Just like the earlier on head and shoulders that we had, this one is playing out, and this is projecting 150k Bitcoin. It's doing a similar thing to what the Japanese Nikkei did. This pattern that we identify, and we've not just identified for Bitcoin, we've identified it across the board. We're now seeing it on altcoins, which we're going to look at. We are going to be talking about the kind of flow of money into the cryptocurrency space, and this is something that people love to throw around. But in my opinion, this, quite frankly, is not accurate. We have altcoins that have seen a lot more flows in terms of money than the likes of Ethereum. And if you look at meme coins right now, then you've kind of skipped phase 2 or 3. But by all accounts, alt season is here. We are going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at where altcoins are on their own technical merit. Things like ICP, Hbar, Cardano, and Polkadot, to just stick with some of the larger caps. And then we're going to be looking at things like Bitcoin dominance and looking at things relatively others dominance, which is playing out as we were expecting it to. You know, alt season is here. This is a bull market, and it's not just a bull market for the crypto space, it's a bull market for the stock market, it's a bull market for gold, and Bitcoin, of course, is in, and I'll show you that very quickly, an uptrend against these markets. And actually, I did a massive update for my Patreons yesterday in our weekly meeting, where we looked at a good barometer for liquidity for markets generally in the form of the bond market. Bonds typically are in the risk category, so you've got in there bonds, housing, stocks, gold, and now crypto. And the bond market is the biggest of the lot. Housing is also bullish. Why are these markets bullish and at a relative low? Lots of divergences showing up and likely projecting higher. That kind of an environment is going to support our overall thesis. It's kind of our macro context, and we'll do a whole video on that because I think we're some of the first people. You know, we haven't been one of these buy bonds, wear diamonds individuals. But we are now actually bullish, certainly on the short term on bonds. We're in the lower interest rate camp. We think everything is playing out to a T as projected. But Bitcoin is in an uptrend against these markets. So this is the SPY, this is the NASDAQ. This, of course, is gold in a similar manner, similar pattern, similar technical structure to what it is against the dollar. And let's start off with Bitcoin versus the dollar. This was the schematic that we had laid out for you. Smaller head and shoulders now looking for a bigger one. JP Morgan saying they're expecting post-halvening a 42k Bitcoin. It's not out the realms of possibility. You know, you could see a dip or a toe above all-time highs at 68,000 and then some sort of a broader structure playing out. And actually, this wouldn't be too bad. This would be a kind of give you a higher target that we could essentially project and look at this as an inverse head and shoulders on a kind of macro time frame. You know, you'd be talking 250k at this point. We're going to focus on 150, which is what we see evident. This has all played out perfectly. If we look on the smaller time frames, yesterday we did an update where we did say Bitcoin likely to squeeze higher this week. This is a bull pennant. You can see this is now broke, and you likely are going to see upside continuation from this, which you are seeing. You are approaching new all-time highs. You are going into the halvening. Is there going to be a fizzling out after that? Even if there is, it's only going to be short-lived, because ultimately what the halvening is going to do is cut the new supply of Bitcoin, which is already getting gobbled up massively and absorbed by just the ETFs alone, in half. You know, so everything looks spectacular. And now what we're looking at with the bond market just looks you know, it kind of supports our overall macro view on things. And just to show you very quickly, we'll use TLT as our bond market barometer. It's very interesting because bonds, in my opinion, are about to turn. This is the bond market. This is the bullish divergence that we're identifying. It's not just that. We're also seeing, remember, these are very interest rate. They are interest rate sensitive markets. We're also seeing moves on housing. So we actually think housing's going higher. This is a supportive risk environment. And the question is, there's going to have to be a lot of liquidity to support these markets. What's the catalyst for that? And I think that there's a number of catalysts with the reserve repo getting drained, the Fed likely coming down to more of a QE kind of stats. You know, across the board, everything looks good, and certainly Bitcoin on its own technical merit. Remember, we did give you the schematic of Amazon, which is another chart that we have $264 price prediction for, or $3. Going against the bears at this point who are worried about Jeff Bezos selling and following the news. We're going on the technicals. You know, the Nikkei's a big macro view. This is a chart that's been setting up since the 1994s. Everything is going exactly according to plan. And if we take a look at altcoins on their own merit, you know, they look pretty good. And now we are seeing, you know, Bitcoin does. This always gets thrown around. This is one of those cliche things on Twitter where people just think they can say something once and it gets followed perfectly. Kind of like Plan B, you know, with his stock to flow, which was 100% wrong. And now he's made a resurgence, you know, having a couple of red dots here and there. But you can see Bitcoin, according to this, is the first thing to see the money inflows, which is correct. And then you've got things like Ethereum. You've got things like large caps, which are things like Cardano, DOT, you know, Algo, things like XRP, these kind of things. And then you've got ALTSEASON. Seems like we've just skipped these two and gone straight to ALTSEASON. And let's actually talk about Bitcoin dominance, where that's at, what we were looking at for it. So this is Bitcoin dominance, which is persistently stronger than expected. Let's throw on the total market cap, because it's not until actually into the bull that Bitcoin dominance rolls. So you can see this is the point where Bitcoin dominance rolled. You can see you've done quite a lot until that point. Same again here. It wasn't until here that Bitcoin dominance rolled. We're kind of on a similar thing. I don't think Bitcoin dominance is too far from rolling at all. And we'll see how this plays out. I actually think this is a topping range and that you are going to roll to the downside of it. We've looked at things like ETH BTC, which is following somewhat what we're looking at. We expect this to break. This is going to coincide with Bitcoin dominance going down, but the overall market going up, because nothing's going up without Bitcoin. And then we've got others dom, which is something that we are seeing and finding support in this range. Bit of a double bottom-esque structure here, all around support. You know, looking for a 20% move. So we do think Bitcoin dominance on the cusp of rolling. We have given actually price predictions for many altcoins at this point, and we'll talk about some of them very, very quickly. So we've got the likes of Hbar to start things off. This is now, in our opinion, going towards the $27 mark, and then it's likely going to set up continuation. We've got something like Polkadot, which recently has only just broken out of this sort of inverse head and shoulders. This has got a $26 price prediction, so the altcoins are going to be doing well. I think they're going to outperform Bitcoin, having now triggered this pattern. Even something like Cardano is now following the direction that we've set out for it. Another one that I've been looking at, and I'm actually pretty damn bullish on, is ICP. You know, altcoins look spectacular. You've got meme coins doing very well. Don't be one of those people who, you know, you can make money on meme coins. You will make money on meme coins if the overall market's going up. Don't underestimate people's FOMO. You know, people will invest in something literally just because people are talking about it and it's going up, and they kind of got this dream of grandeur that they'll invest based on. I mean, look at meme stocks and things like this. They're a perfect example of the fact that sometimes fundamentals don't actually matter, and the crowd and the madness of the crowd matters more so. So all is good. Everything has been followed pretty beautifully. What we're looking at on the macro is pretty interesting in regards to bonds. That bond turning, why would bonds be turning at a point where they're printing $1 trillion worth of new debt every single 100 days, and it's going to amplify, looking to print what, 6.5 or introduce $6.5 trillion worth of debt this year alone. That's going to be a low estimate in my opinion. I think what we're looking at for the dollar suggests it's coming down. That means that yields are going to come down, which means that bonds are going to get a bid. That's not going to be happening in an environment where they're just dumping and there isn't a buyer. I think the Fed's going to have to step in and be that buyer, which is a massive boost for liquidity. When we see global liquidity upticking, it's a kind of macro to support the micro, i.e. the technicals that we're looking at for crypto, which is still this very small asset, but I think going to become infinitely larger. This was a very interesting article. First gold ETF took 2 years to hit 10 billion. This Bitcoin ETF did it in 2 months. Now, understand the concept of when gold back in 2004 had its ETF, the money supply, just to show you that very quickly, and we looked about or spoke about the great game of proliferation to basically impoverish people. But back in, you can see the money supply was, nearly a quarter of what it was today. And this is just M2. There's a lot of other barometers for this that have all inflated. But I actually think, given could you see Bitcoin get to a higher market cap than gold? It's not out of the realms of possibility. And what does that mean for the broader space? I think crypto this cycle is going to $10 trillion in terms of market cap. That could be potentially a bit of a low estimate. So all is well. Altcoins are going to have their day in the sun. Bitcoin is the star of the show still, and it's all down to the fundamental news of the ETF and the kind of inflows that we've seen, which have just been absolutely spectacular. Bitcoin has been nothing short of a success. It's too much of a success, in my opinion. We could be looking at new all-time highs this week alone. Bitcoin hitting 65k as we speak. You are going to get a pullback at some point. In my opinion, that's there to be taken advantage of. We've got higher targets for Bitcoin, we've got higher targets for altcoins. We've got a good macro outlook. What more could you ask for? It's a great time to be in the crypto space. If you want to get on board with what I own, we've got some real movers. We've got things 300-400% up since we got back into the market just over a year ago. It's been a spectacular year. If you want to get on board with that, do consider becoming a Patreon. Guys, on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed the content, likes, appreciate it, as a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one.